Hello everybody. I am recording the video for my All Aflutter class. So for those of you that have purchased this class, your box of goodies should be on the way, or hopefully you've received it. If you did not purchase it but are interested after you watch the video, I do have one more available. So if you want the one that I have available, it is packaged and ready to go, and you can let me know after you watch the video. So this card kit focuses on the All Aflutter stamp set, and I love it because it's a punch. You know, we spend a lot of time doing die cutting, but it's fun every once in a while to actually go old-fashioned and do some punching. So we are going to use this fun stamp set called All Aflutter. I'm going to set that aside, and we've got the coordinating punch to go with it. I'm going to set that aside for now as well. I'm going to pull out my foam mat and jump in and get started. And this will be the first card that we are going to make. So for this card kit, we are also using the Beautiful Ordinary Life 12 by 12 designer series paper. It just has some really, really beautiful papers in here. I love this pack. This is probably one of my favorites. And I'm going to show you how to use this pretty paper to make some butterflies for this first card. Make sure this is in the, here we go. So for this first card, we are actually going to use the butterfly outline, which is this stamp. And we are going to use a piece of the designer paper from the Beautiful Ordinary Life. And basically you're just going to stamp your butterflies on here, and you're going to get different tones with your, in the background of the butterflies. And so with the, if you purchase the kit, your pattern paper may look different than mine because the pattern paper has a lot of different colors on it. Here's a little bigger piece of it. And so you may have some oranges, some reds, some yellows, some blues. I'm going to use this for this card. And we are going to stamp using some black ink. And this is our Memento black ink. As you know, I used an uninked ink pad, and I added the Memento black ink refill to it because I just wanted a bigger ink pad to work with. So we're just going to come in and stamp some butterflies. I'm going to turn this over because I want to try to get some of this peachy color. And so when you do this, depending on what color you know of the paper you got in your kit, yours just might be a little bit different colors. Then we're going to take our punch, and this is what I love about our punches, is that you actually use them upside down. And I'm going to come in, and I'm going to cut these apart just to make it easier. It'll just make it easier for me to punch. So we're going to come in and line up our butterflies. There. And then you just give it a good squeeze. And we're going to do that. And this one I need to trim a little bit so that I can get in there with the punch. Just lining that up again. And we got one more. I think I had to do 3 sets of these because of the number of butterflies that are on the card. Depending on how you stamp them on here, you may have to do what I just did, which is just trim off a little extra piece there so that you can get the punch in there and line it up and give it a good punch. So then next thing we want to do, we're going to set all those little butterflies aside, is you should have a piece of white cardstock that is in your kit. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to do some tearing. And this is optional because I know not everybody likes to tear, so it's okay. If you don't like to tear, you don't have to. But we're just going to come across here, just give it a little rough edge. And you want to tear a very minimal amount. You're not trying to tear off like a bunch. And you could do it on one side or both sides, but I'm going to do it on both sides. One thing I like about tearing is that after you do this and you have this rough edge, you could come in with some ink and it gives you a nice edge on there if you wanted to do that, but we're not doing that for this card. We're going to stamp the "You Are So Appreciated," and we're going to use the Pool Party ink. And I'm going to put my stamp set on my block. We're going to ink that up. And we're just going to come in here. Alright, I'll set that ink pad aside for now. And we are ready to do some assembling. So I'm going to pull out the rest of the supplies for this card. I actually had punched out some extra butterflies, so I just set those aside. And so you should have for your card base, this is Pool Party. It's half of a sheet and it's scored in half. So we're going to go ahead and fold it. Use our bone folder to give it a good crease. You have a piece of white cardstock that goes on the inside. I always include those when the card is not white. I always give you this piece of white cardstock to go on the inside. 5 dots of glue. For the front, you have a piece of designer paper that's going to go across here, and this should be approximately 5.5 by 4. So we're going to go ahead and glue that down. And now I am only human and definitely not perfect. And so you can see that mine actually carries over the edge a little bit. So I'm just going to come in with my scissors and trim off the excess. I try my best to always get the cuts just right, but sometimes they can be a little off. So we're going to add this piece that says "You Are So Appreciated." We're going to do the same thing. We may have to cut off a little bit, so I'm actually going to line it up on the right side since the words are over there. I don't want to have to cut any of that off. And we're going to come in with our scissors then on the left side and cut off the excess. What that tells me is that my cardstock base might have been a little bit shy of 5.5. So there we go. We've got that. And the last thing we're going to need to do here, well, the second to last thing, is we've got all these butterflies. And so I'm going to just start pulling out some butterflies and temporarily trying to figure out like where I want them. Turn them all over so we can see them. This one's pretty with this pink on it. I'm going to do a little one down here. This one has a little blue and yellow. Just looking at all the different colors that I've got to work with here. Again, I punched out some ahead of time as well, so I have a little bit more than the 3 sets that we stamped. So I just like to kind of come in, figure out what I want to go where, and go from there. So we'll put this one down here because it's got a little yellow on it. So I like to just lay them out where they're going to go. Then we're going to come in with some dimensionals. And we're going to put a dimensional behind all of the butterflies. And I am running towards the end of my strip of dimensionals. So I'm going to come in with my scissors. I like to use every bit of the dimensionals. So got one butterfly. Two butterflies. So all of your cards will probably look a little different. Even the cards that you're making at your desk are going to look different, but they're definitely going to look different from like what anybody else that took the class is making, because that designer paper will have different color tones. It's not cooperating for me here. Here we go. Isn't this fun? I love these butterflies. They're really cute. You can really use them on, like, you can coordinate these butterflies with any of the stamp sets we have out. Any that you have in your stash would work. And then the last thing we want to do is we're going to add some of our dots. These are our shimmering dots. You do get a full package of these as part of your kit. And so you have a lot to work with. I'm going to come in and just kind of follow my example here, where I use quite a bit. So I'm going to actually put my sample next to what I'm doing so that you can kind of see. I'm going to come in with a large dot and a small dot. We're going to get another large dot to go over here. Small dot to go next to that, another large one, and a small one, and one more small one. And there we go. That is the first card of the kit. And you can see how they look a little different because you've got the different colors of the butterflies. So that's card number one. I'm gonna just move all that out of the way so we can move on to card number two. And this one is card number two. This is a thinking of you today. And get my stamps that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need thinking of you today. I'm also going to need both of the butterfly stamps, both the outline and the inside, the solid image. So there we go. Those are the ones we're going to need. So for this one, we are making a standing up card. So it opens this way so that it can stand up on the desk like that. And I made it, or I should have made it. It should be 4 inches wide. So I'm actually going to cut that because it's supposed to be 4 inches wide. There we go. Now it's 4 inches wide. And hopefully I cut yours to 4 inches wide as well. And the reason I do that is because I like to maximize my designer paper. And I like to cut my designer paper into 4-inch strips, because if the minute you go 4 1/4 inch of a strip, you're not maximizing your cardstock anymore, your designer paper. And you know, if you do 4 inches, a normal mat for me is 4 by 5 1/4, and you can get 6 per sheet. But if you go 4 1/4, you're only going to get 4 per sheet. So we are going to start with our words, the thinking of you today, and we are going to use the black ink, the Memento black. You could use whatever black you have. You also could use Secret Sea. That's a really good one to use. So we're going to actually stamp this over to the left of the scrap paper, and then we're going to take our scissors, just cut off the edge so that it's the length we want. And then we're going to stamp some butterflies. Included in your kit, you should have some white scrap paper. to stamp your butterflies. So we are going to start with some black ink, and we're going to use the outline. This is where I get myself in trouble every time. I think we do the outline first. We'll see. So we're going to do the black outline of the butterflies, and then we're going to come in with our hydrangea hue. This is one of our new colors, one of our new ink pads. See how easily that opens up? So we're going to set that down, and we're going to ink that up. Just looking at the camera, make sure you can see what I'm doing here. We're going to ink that up. This is our new ones, our linen. So sometimes if you walk them across the ink pad first, it just helps to get it fully inked. And I actually want to stamp off because I want a little lighter color. So I'm going to, on my scrap paper, I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to come in and line it up. To get a lighter color of that hydrangea hue. It's just much better than, like, that's just really, like, I love the color, but that would just be really bold for what we're trying to do. And we're looking for something just a little bit lighter. Close that ink pad up. We're gonna get our punch out. We just need to punch out our butterflies. And I'm gonna close this ink up for a minute when we're not using it. And we're ready to assemble. So we are gonna start with our card base. And I have a piece of, I believe this is Flirty Flamingo cardstock that's gonna go in here as such. So we're just gonna add some glue. And we're gonna add our designer paper. This is probably 4 by 3, if I had to guess. I do like to cut 4 by 3 because you get a lot that way. It's all about maximizing the designer paper. And then we're gonna add our words. I'm just gonna do a little bit of glue on the back here. Bring our words in. Thinking of you today. Then we wanna add our butterflies. And again, we're gonna use dimensionals to add our butterflies. Sorry, I keep looking at the camera. I'm trying to make sure that I keep everything in the camera view. And again, I'm still working off of this, what's left of this sheet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut up a bunch of singles over here too. And we just need one of each, one for each. No need to go crazy on this. Just one is fine. So we're going to put our big butterfly down here. Our smaller butterfly goes over here by the words. And then our medium-sized butterfly goes up here. And then we just need to add some of our bling. Our shimmering dots. Just need to find, there we go, my take your pick tool. So we're going to use 5 on here. So we're using a large one up here by this butterfly. Oops. Sticking to my finger instead of going on the card. Then we're going to use another large one there, another large one down here, and then we need a couple more small ones. There we go. And that card is done. How simple, but so cute. Okay, how about card number 3? Card number 3 is this beautiful, if you know me, you know yellow is my favorite color. So I really like this card a lot. And for this one, keeping my supplies here. Okay. We are going to do a little stamping for butterflies. Once again, we're going to bring in our black ink. And I'm actually going to flip this over here. And we're going to ink up our butterfly outline. Put it down here in the corner. Then we're going to use our hydrangea hue, and we're going to do what we did last time, which was to fully ink it up. But we're going to stamp it off because, again, I don't want it to be bold. Now, if you want it to be bold, then that is totally up to you. I just like the little softer colors on these butterflies. And get our punch. Line it up and give it a good punch. And we're only going to use 2 of the butterflies on this one, so we're not going to use the smallest butterfly. And then for this centerpiece, we're going to do fluttering by to say hi. I have cut out a large circle out of our Daffodil Delight, and we are going to use Pool Party ink. And we're going to stamp the fluttering by to say hi, and we're really just kind of trying to center that. And then we have the little wing trail, I guess is what you would call this. It's just a fun little addition that we're gonna add. Stand up so I can see what I'm doing. And if you, oh, I smeared that. Sorry about that. If you wanted to, you could do this in the hydrangea hue, which is actually what I did for the sample. So I'm gonna actually turn that over and I'm gonna change it because I did not use Pool Party. So forgive me, I should be reading my own instructions as I go, I guess. If you ordered the card kit, you do get the instructions that tell you how to do this as well. So let me find my word. We're gonna ink that up again. This time we're gonna actually use hydrangea hue. And the little fun, maybe I won't smear it this time. There we go. The key is that you never want to rock. I think the first time I rocked it by accident, and that's why it smeared. So now we're ready to assemble this. Now that we have the correct colors. So in your envelope, you will have your card base, which is Daffodil Delight. It is half of a sheet that is cut in half. I mean, it's half a sheet, so then it's also scored in half. And we're gonna go ahead and use our bone folder and give that a good crease. I have this really pretty beehive looking designer paper that is gonna go on top of that. Because it's not a white card base, I do have a piece of white cardstock for the inside. This is just so that it's easier to see what you're writing on the inside. In theory, you don't have to put that in there, but I think it just is better if you do. And then we're going to add our butterflies and our circle. This comes from the Stylish Shapes dies. And we're gonna use some dimensionals, but we're just using them on the large circle. And it's a good thing that every piece of paper has 2 sides, because when I realized that I used the wrong color ink, we just flipped it over and redid it. So we're going to center that piece. Try to get the word straight. And for the butterflies, I'm actually going to kind of come in and bend them a little bit what I want to do is only put a little bit of glue behind that part of it, because I don't want them to look like they're floating. So do the same thing on the side, bend it a little so that you get the body. Put the glue on the body. And then we're going to add some more of our shimmering dots. We're using white again for this one. We're going to use a small one right here, a large one right there, and a small one right there. And that card is now officially done. Super simple, but so cute. So our last card that we're going to make is actually called a fun fold card. This one opens differently than just a normal card. And what I mean, I'll show you here, is that this is how it opens. So it has flaps on each side that open, and then you have this piece that creates like the center of your front of your card. So let me just step that over here and get out pieces. So we have a piece of white cardstock that we've used the stylish shaped dies to cut out a large square. And for this one, we are going to stamp the butterfly out, the outline of the butterfly, using our basic black, Memento black, whichever black color you have. And close that up. We're going to use our Daffodil Delight so that we can stamp the word friend. And we're going to stamp that 3 times. And then the last thing that we're going to stamp is the inside of the butterflies, and we are using Pool Party for this one. So I do need to clean off my stamp so that I do not transfer the other ink onto this ink pad. So now my stamp is clean. We're going to come in. We're going to, oops. Stamp it off. We're going to do it again because I just stuck my fingers all over that. So we're going to stamp it off, and then we're going to fill it in here. Just like that. So we are actually ready to assemble. So I have a piece of Pool Party cardstock. This is cut in half, and that it is scored at 2 1/8 and 2 1/8. So we're going to fold those in, and they meet in the middle. And we want to go ahead and give that a good crease on both sides, because you want that to lay as flat as possible. Sorry if the whole table is shaking. And I'm going to crease it again. I'm actually going to crease it on the table because I really want to get a good crease on it. I want to try to get it as flat as possible for this fun fold. There we go. That's much better. We'll go ahead and put it back on the foam mat because it just makes it easier to see what I'm doing. Then I have some designer paper. Again, all of the designer paper on these cards comes from that Beautiful Ordinary Life designer paper. And see, those are just going to go on here. I'm actually going to turn them so that they're facing the same way. We just need our 5 dots of glue, like always. And then for the inside, we do have a piece of white cardstock that we're going to come in and do our 5 dots of glue. Now I have a piece of pool party cardstock that I'm going to put behind this piece that we stamped on. And then this part is very important. When we get ready to put this on the card, you want to make sure that you only put adhesive on the left half, because you want it to stick to only the left flap so that it can open. If you put it on the whole thing, your card won't open. So it's just very important that you don't get in a rush. It'd be very easy to accidentally put adhesive on all of it. So we're just gonna do that. And then we're gonna add some embellishments and the card will be done. So we're using white again on here. You can use any color you want, and it looks like I'm using all little ones. And I'm just putting it on the body of the butterflies because it just adds a little dimension. Again, you get a whole pack of these embellishments with your kit, so you should have plenty. You can go crazy, you can add as many as you want. So that is the last card. That is the nice fun fold. And one thing that you could do for fun, use some of those extra butterflies that we punched out for the first card. If you really wanted to, you could come in and you could glue one on the inside, so that when they open the card, they get to see another butterfly. So just to recap, this is the third card that we made. And this is the second card we made. And then the first card that we made. Thank you so much for purchasing my class. I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions about your kit or about any of my other classes, just let me know. Thanks a lot.